Federal judge in Virginia rules that banning handgun sales to 18 to 20-year-olds is unconstitutional. Welcome to another installment of the Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by P.A.N. Firearms, LLC. P.A.N. Firearms for your NRA certification and multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343 or use our website at www.panfirearmsllc.com. As always, there'll be a link in the description box. And if you like my channel and my content, you can support me with the link in the description box. Everything is appreciated. Let's talk about this. If you watch me on somewhat of a regular basis, you'll hear me talk about in several cases where I will state, if 17, 18-year-olds, we can send you to war, but then tell you you can't buy a gun when you come home. There's something completely off. But now this judge ruled on Thursday, which is going to be in May, and he ruled that the federal prohibition on handgun sales to adults younger than 21 violates their Second Amendment rights. The case is known as Fraser versus ATF, which was filed by John Corey Fraser, a resident of Fluvanna County, and a student at Hampton Sydney College. Now, the U.S. District Judge Robert E. P.A.N. soundly rejected the arguments by the Department of Justice and gun control groups who filed amicus briefs urging the judge to uphold the law, in part by suggesting that even though under 21s can't lawfully purchase a handgun from an FFL, they could always have their parents buy a gun for them or buy one from a private party. P.A.N. took a dim view of that argument, noting that relying on a third party to acquire firearms still implicates and infringes on the rights of young adults. It's true. I mean, the Second Amendment is the only amendment that has an age limit on. The federal government has put an age limit on in some states. Your First Amendment rights are not reliant upon your age. Your Fourth and Sixth and so forth and so on is not based on your age, yet the Second Amendment, they say, does. Yes, there have to be boundaries. I'm not against that. But those boundaries must be incredibly reasonable. And the ones that they have are not. But the crux of the issue is a blanket age-based prohibition on buying arms that the Supreme Court has already said are protected by the Second Amendment. One important finding from the judge is that the right to keep and bear arms necessarily encompasses the right to acquire one as well, as P.A.N. says. And this is from the judge. Common sense and logic tells us that unless one is a maker of guns, the right to have a gun necessarily means that one must purchase it, steal it, be given it by another, or find one that another has lost. That, of course, includes a handgun, which was subject of the arms in Heller. Thus, given its ordinary common sense and logical meaning, the right to keep arms, the right to have, of necessity, includes the right inter alia to purchase arms. Can't disagree with that. P.A.N. acknowledged that the text of the Second Amendment does not include the word purchase, and that other courts have ruled that the text of the Second Amendment doesn't protect the acquisition of a firearm. They argue that the age-based ban is an infringement regardless. That's interesting, because if they're saying that the Second Amendment does not protect the age of the person when they go to purchase, then you also have rules in place that say you can't, depending on the state you live in, this is not nationwide, but like Connecticut, for example, you can't technically build a gun. So where does that work? It's trying to burn both ends of the candle. But once again, from the judge, not simply protecting the heartland of the preserved right. The Second Amendment protects the environs surrounding it to prevent any encroachment on the core protections. Thus, by virtue of the word infringe, the Second Amendment's protective textual embrace includes the conduct necessary to exercise that right to keep and bear. And that, as explained above, includes the right to purchase arms so that one can keep and bear them. With that out of the way, P.A.N. then turned to the government's contention that under 21s aren't a part of the people, who possess Second Amendment rights, an argument the judge found not just silly, but downright dangerous, saying that, taken to its logical extent, the government's argument would remove Second Amendment protections from vast swaths of the American population. And then, of course, there is a link there for the judge's decision. But P.A.N., apparently, from this article, is the third federal judge to rule that bans on firearm sales to adults younger than 21. I've done other videos on that, are unconstitutional. And he has granted a summary judgment in the solid win for the gun owners. Obviously, this applies to the plaintiffs in this case. And if the government and other entities want to appeal, they're going to have to take it to the Supreme Court, which will then make it a federal ruling. But I found that fascinating because, like I said, it's odd that you can tell somebody at the age of 18 you can go to war and be armed to the teeth with all God knows what. But then you come home and they tell you can't buy a handgun, you can't buy a rifle, you know, or specific rifles. Some states do have bans. I believe West Virginia has one. I might be wrong on that, but where somebody under the age of 21 can't buy a magazine-fed rifle, which basically, you know, of course, the AKs and the AIRs and FALs and so forth and so on. And that's in court right now being challenged. But I have no problem with 18 to 20-year-olds who are going to do things legally, going in and purchasing a handgun. I agree with this judge, because you got 14, 15, 8-year-olds out in the streets with illegal guns who are damn fools. So how are you going to kind of peg these people who are doing it the right way with the behavior of others? But that's pretty much how we do things anyway. We're a blameless society. It's always someone else's fault that something is happening. Nobody takes responsibility or accountability for what they do. But once again, we'll watch how this goes, because if the government appeals, it's going to go to the next level, and we'll see what kind of ruling we're going to get if they do so. But very interesting story. I'm in full agreement. Okay. Like I said, boundaries have to be set, but those boundaries must be reasonable. Reasonable, not just for one ideology, but reasonable across the board. But let me know what you think. As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, any statements of violence or statements that lead to violence will be removed. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're notified the next time a video goes live. I will see you on the next one. Peace.